Welcome to another edition of FUTStock, where we discuss all things FIFA Ultimate Team. I am Marquee Match Ups.
And I am Matt Metz Lambourne.
So, a new patch. What has it brought us? Pain, suffering, squad building challenges, goals, no goals, corners that don't work correctly, parking the bus being quite effective, and the weekend league all of a sudden has become a buzzkill. What is going on with FIFA 17 this week? Of course, that's exactly what we're going to be discussing. And also a new quit out exploit that needs to be talked about. Something is array or awry, depending on which part of the world you come from. Of course, we need to talk about something about squad building overspending, which I was on the wrong side of, and I'm looking forward to telling you about. Our marquee match predictions. We've also got our Player of the Month prediction, which we're very happy to stake our claim on, and the novelty inform of the week. So, Mets, how the hell have you found it scoring lately?
Well, just for a bit of clarification, we already recorded an episode for this week that unfortunately didn't come out so well. So we've already covered in quite some depth about how I was finding it very difficult to score up until I played the weekend league this weekend just gone, and things are starting to click a little bit for me. I still think the patch has made it harder to score in general. Like, I don't concede or score nearly as many corners as I did when the game was fresh off the box, so to speak. And they supposedly made tweaks to the finishing, which I would have thought would make finishing stronger, so you scored more goals. But for me, my goal tally was going down. But perhaps in the extra few days that we've had since we made that initial recording, which didn't come out last week, I've gotten better at it. So I had relative success in the weekend league, found it a bit more enjoyable. But there is a very symptomatic issue with park the bus being rampant, even from the kickoff, and not just the weekend league, but maybe any sort of competitive mode in general.
I think you're right. Obviously, we've lost a lot of context what we spoke about last time in terms of park the bus. It has become very effective. I hate saying the word overpowered, so I'm not going to say it. I don't think it is overpowered. It's certainly been over-relied upon. And so that obviously changes a lot of what happens. And I think that has a direct effect on the scoring of the games. Obviously, it means that people are a lot more wiser now that part of the buzz actually works this time. So that if you want to, you can defend deep and make other people come at you and then try and get around you. And some games are tough because of it, and some games are a piece of piss because of it, in my experience. So there is that. The patch, is it making it harder to score? I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence of that one as well. But where I will say there's categorically a problem is, like, corners are fucking useless. I mean, I've said this from the start anyway. The whole new corner system is just a complete abortion. But aside from that, nobody scores against me from corners. The second ball is basically an aneurysm. Everybody just stands still. And, unless it goes to your man who's on the edge of the box, nothing's going to happen. The ball can bounce around in the box and do everything. No problem. I don't care. When I defend a corner, I can't wait. I'm so happy to get corners against me, that is, not to get them, because I can't score from them. Obviously, what I will say is that from the scoring point of view, that has affected my enjoyment of it immensely. I've never been enamoured of this version of FIFA 17. And as time goes on, I get used to the way it is. I find myself becoming the victim of the halo effect, where I think, you know what, it's not that bad, really. We still got input lag after all this time.
It's still tragically flawed, isn't it?
Shit. The game's shit. I'm
moving slowly to where it needs to be, but yeah, still massive problems the patch hasn't resolved.
I don't think it's moving slowly at all. I think literally we were looking at a carcass. FIFA 17. It's smelly, rotten, and it's not fit for human consumption.
Well, it's interesting that they've allowed it to get to a point. The game still is sort of technically unfinished. There's more work that needs to be done there.
Absolutely.
And we're at the point now where there's more AAA games coming out to distract people away from FIFA 17. Like, for instance, We're going to be playing Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered this weekend. No shadow of a doubt. I'm not playing the Weekend League. I'm going to be playing those games instead.
Yeah, I'm not playing the Weekend League either. Couldn't give a crap.
And I really liked playing the Weekend League this gone. The trouble I have with it in general is it took me so much of my time over the course of last week to qualify, and then obviously the requisite amount of time to play the games during the Weekend League. It's led to a little bit of trouble at home, so I've promised the wife I won't be spending this week grinding Weekend League. It's just so time demanding. Basically, only children and the unemployed can play it properly, I think. And given now that
very serious, hasn't it? Sorry.
Yeah, and there's lots of other games coming out. So if EA don't get their act together, people will just find something else to do. I mean, the way that people make games these days is that every game development team wants you to be playing their game exclusively for 12 months. It's not like when we were kids when we would have 5 or 6 games on the go at once. If you want to get good at FIFA and be competitive in it, you probably need to be playing it so many hours a day exclusively and nothing else. Most people won't do that. Everyone likes to have their pie in lots of different fingers. So EA need to sort their shit out before all the big Christmas blockbusters come out, and most of them already have. So perhaps that is a negative for the community as a whole, because we would like it if it was more accessible to newcomers and they would stick around, so it affects the whole economy and everything in the game, more positively speaking. But speaking of negatives, just before we recorded last Thursday of the episode that never happened, news of this new quit out exploit has come to light, which, as far as we're aware, is exclusive to PS4, but wouldn't surprise me if it's also possible on Xbox One.
I think I've experienced, and I think most people who listen to the show know we're both Xbox One players, but neither of us have a PlayStation. But I think I've had something happen to me where literally a player is, I have thrown chance after chance after chance after them. I haven't scored, so that's one part me being crap, one part getting a bit unlucky, and they've gone to the other end, scored, and then literally they cancelled the match there and then, forced me to disconnect. I've got a fucking loss recorded for that, even though I haven't had a chance to actually finish the game. And a disconnect as well, of course. Brilliant. That's wonderful.
That's annoying. I had one person do that to me during the Weekend League. They went 1-0 up at the beginning of the second half and insta-quit, but I didn't inherit a defeat and it didn't affect my record. So I was kind of pleased in a way, being 1-0 down and not a shit ton of time to go. They kind of did me a favour. But for people who've been living under a rock, basically what people have been doing is essentially playing FUTDraft and making it impossible to lose. So if they go a goal up, they quit and they obtain a victory and progress in the FUTDraft. If they go a goal down, they quit and it doesn't impede their progress. It saves them at whatever point in the draft they were, and they can just replay the match and carry on. So essentially people were printing packs. I think EA have been sending warnings out electronically to people over the weekend. So if you've tried this, you're probably on their naughty list. So don't do it again, otherwise you risk losing your account and maybe having your console blacklisted. But for a short period of time, people were able to rinse the game for some high-level packs, which caused some serious imbalancing in the market, to say the least, particularly on PS4.
You know, I said in our last episode, I think in terms of continuity and integrity, it's fair to say that there is now a downside to doing this. But right at the time, I understand anybody doing it on PS4 and trying it out, because there was literally no downside to doing it. You know, you can't lose effectively. But, you know, if people are getting banned, is a good step, because it's hard to be on the receiving end of it. We all like to think that there's no real victims in this, but obviously we do fuck over our opponents by doing that. And without opponents, we can't play FIFA. It's all very twee and all very martial arts, but it's a true statement.
Yeah, this is the unfortunate drawback of playing games competitively online, is we essentially we're depending on the good nature of the people playing against to do things the right way, and unfortunately our life experience tells us most people would rather just fuck each other over for a couple of packs and spoil the gaming experience. But hey-ho. But as far as I'm aware, this bug is still open. We're not going to tell you exactly how to do it, because I'm sure you can find it online if you're that much of a shit house and you want to try it out. But as far as we're aware, it's still active, and it's probably not going to be an overnight fix, because they've only just put out a title update, of course, so we might be waiting a while for that one to come out. But try it at your own risk is all we're going to say, but obviously we're not entirely happy with that situation. Now, let's talk a little bit about marquee matches real quick, Matt, because we did quite well on the last group of ones.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, marquee matches dropped a few days early last week, so we weren't able to get an episode out to give you our predictions for that one, but we did hit a few on the head, such as the Moscow Derby, the Brum Derby, and a couple of others. What we want to do now is try and prepare you for what we think will be this weekend's big marquee matches, and there are some really big ones, aren't there?
Well, I mean, does it get much bigger than Arsenal Spurs? Like, really, in terms of matches out there? Of course, there are bigger ones. Of course, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and
not this weekend though.
Not this weekend. Benfica, Porto, Arsenal, Spurs, and also I think this is a massive shout, and it's one to get your finger on and go out and start buying players. This Panathinaikos versus Olympiakos. Massive game. They're both in the game. There's a fair few Greek players out there. Go out and get it. All you've got to decide is, are they going to want you to have as many Greek players as possible or as many different nationalities as possible? This has been the theme for marquee matchups. They say that you need a certain minimum of players from each club, and then you need a certain amount of nationalities, if I'm not mistaken. Have I got that one? I think that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. They've either gone down the route of you need all the corresponding nationalities, so i.e. Greek for that, or they do it the other way around where you need X amount of non-Greek players. So you're going to have to sort of balance your investments on that one. The good thing about this is, from an investment point of view, though, is that it's not a particularly fanciful league. People don't tend to keep players from the Greek league because you can't really make a great Greek league team. So theoretically speaking, there shouldn't be a ton of people who have these players lined about in the squad, so they'll be hoping to buy them immediately. So there's an opportunity for you there to make money. So I think if you were going to invest out of any of those three, Panathinaikos, Olympiakos, it's the wild card, but it's probably the one that you can make the most money on, but albeit slightly more risky.
You know, the thing is, when you come into these marquee matchups, you do have to take a bit of a risk because that's where the most gains are going to be had. And if you're overspending to get players together who you believe are going to be profitable for you in the coming couple of days, then stop right there, because that's not the point. Unless you're going to sell in a day or so, and you don't mind, say for example, buying a player for 1,000 coins, who normally goes for 400, and then selling for 1,300 before the actual matchups are actually announced. Because otherwise, you could be on the wrong side of it, depending on how the eligibility of the squad that needs to be submitted.
Yeah, very true indeed. So the other big thing that happened this weekend, and the reason why you weren't playing the weekend league, is one of us got banned, didn't we?
Yes, I received an email. Shall I show it on the screen? Why not?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. I'm sure you work your fancy magic Mets and show us the email that you get when you get banned, which is it's a whole load of blurb. It says like, we need to talk, like as if I'm in a relationship with you.
Yeah, as if you're able to like have a conversation at that point. But anyway.
Yeah, fucking dicks. Anyway, so at the bottom of it, it said that we believe that you have sold coins to a third party and that we've permanently blocked your account. So not even a warning or a yellow card and then a red card. I've been sent to the showers, been fined on the way out, and also been free transferred from my club. It's quite a harsh one.
You basically became Joey Barton.
Yeah. Couldn't put it any better. You get Joey Barton if you get found out for this. And I haven't bought coins. I haven't even sold coins. Why would I want to sell coins for? I haven't got enough bloody time to be sitting around trading for coins. That's an aside. I can say categorically I've never sold coins for FIFA 17. And I was very shocked by this. So I looked into it. Me and you had a bit of a to and fro. I was obviously gutted because, you know, as much as I don't like FIFA 17 this time, not being able to play was even a bigger kick in the mouth, really. So anyway, I got in touch with EA. I rang them up. They were absolutely wonderful on the phone, I've got to say. The service they gave me and the way they treated me was incredibly respectful and helpful. So they didn't ring it. As soon as I rang up and said, look, I know this is probably what everybody says, he sells coins, but I haven't sold coins. They're like, no, it's like, no, I understand exactly what you're saying, but we don't. As I said, look, is this futile? Like, does it just get triggered off, and then there's a futile process of emailing each other back, and then you pretend that you've looked into it? And he said he can assure me that whilst he didn't deal with it directly, the terms of service team, security team, basically, what they do is they will review it. It takes 2 to 3 days. So I submitted a form, which we should probably give out actually. Mets on the screen, if that's okay, like the email for people to get in touch with, get caught out on it.
Yeah, I'll do that.
And that is that you send an email there with a form, and all that information gets put in, and then you wait. But as it happens, people on Reddit, FIFA, were saying that it was happening to them, so there was obviously an issue here. And what I can tell you is that I had done 4 squad building challenges before I was banned. And within 30 minutes of doing this and turning off the console, I was banned. Literally that quick. I sat down.
And then just lost the concentration, lost the ball as well. And they've got to work hard to try and get it back. Contact. Now it goes into the wider areas where they've got a winger waiting. Defender to it.
Right. Who has a landline these days? I actually think mine plugged in. Because if anybody's calling it, they're not after me.
That's a fair point.
Anyway, so God, I forget where was I? But yes, so I did. So one of these squad buildings and challenges were done. Literally 30 minutes later, I was banned and I received this email. So anyway, turns out it's been happening on Reddit, FIFA. A lot of people were talking about it. So that gave me a lot of confidence that it happened in area, because there's just too many people talking about it and saying, I never sold coins. And, that's fine. So, a day after, around 11 p.m, I just went to the console and thought, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to try and see if I can log in. And I could log in. So, I don't know how long it lasted for, but I actually got an email in the morning then on Sunday. So this is Friday. Didn't play all Friday. Didn't play on Saturday until the evening, late evening. I didn't even play properly. I just put it on to see if it worked. Oh shit! I still haven't actually got called them back up for compensation. I should be getting some packs out of it. And obviously, I got an email which you'll be able to see on your screen because it's been forwarded on to Mets, which just basically says that we've found your claims to be justified, and we apologise. Basically, I don't even think they apologise. Just say that this kind of thing won't happen again. So there's definitely an issue with velocity control. So a little bit like if you spend a lot of money in one day on your debit card or credit card, the respective bank is very likely to automatically trigger a text message to you, or actually just call you up and say, can you check these transactions are yours? So what has happened is, I hypothesise, is that I hit a certain number of coin spend on bronze and silvers, and during that time I may well have bought players from what I couldn't see with the same account, which nobody can see. Nobody would know that information. So that triggers it off, and then and obviously what they haven't taken into account is that squad building challenges make you pay 10,000 coins for a discard bronze because you need that desperately. I haven't personally, but I've had to spend more than what you need on a bronze or silver. So that's knowing a little bit about how the industry works in terms of volumes and coin spend and all that kind of stuff, and why it's there. This is a massive oversight by EA, and they should be ashamed that they have already corrected it.
Yeah, it's pretty sloppy. I mean, let's just say that it's one thing to make an error and for it to affect players. At least they handled it reasonably well. So fair play to EA in that respect.
Oh yeah, they handled it very well.
But that said, the second you told me you got banned, I said exactly what I thought happened, and that was that you got banned for doing, basically being a little bit sloppy on squad building challenges because you didn't prep for you to complete the challenges. You just, okay, I'm going to buy the players I need and just get it done, which is fine. But by doing so, you were spending the maximum amount in terms of the price banding on players that normally wouldn't sell for much at all. And so you probably triggered some very
I didn't pay max for anybody, just so you know. Did I pay inflated prices? Of course I did.
You paid a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sure I did.
So what you've probably done, like you say, is you've triggered some very old-standing legacy controls that have probably been in FIFA since they introduced price ranges. And this is symptomatic of the marketing team or the content team who do Ultimate Team, who come up with squad building challenges, not talking to security people and vice versa. And genuine players have been affected through no fault of their own, just by using a feature that EA have put into the game. So shame on you, EA. You've proper ruined people's weekends. And it's absolutely sloppy as hell that this has actually happened.
It's so avoidable. This is the thing, it was so avoidable. All they had to say literally is a 2-line email that says, squad building challenges are affecting the prices of bronze and silver players legitimately within the FUT economy. Can you please upgrade the velocity controls to X? Or can you please upgrade the volume controls as you see fit based on this information?
Yeah, and there's every likelihood this will happen again at some point during the season, and it's really embarrassing, really bad PR for EA. And I doubt that they've come public and disclosed exactly what has happened here. They've just quietly fixed it and allowed people to get on with their lives, and they'll deal with people on a case-by-case basis. But I'm glad that they sorted you out relatively quickly, although it did take you having to have the gumption to contact them in the first place. So essentially, they've let you down as a customer, and certainly not knowing that you were part of FUTStock and that you have a certain amount of outreach to players. They've done themselves a lot of harm there. And of course, there's other people who have bigger audiences than us, YouTubers and whatnot, who can do exactly the same. So it's a massive shot on the foot for EA. They've spoiled a number of players' weekend by banning them for what it seems to be about a 48-hour period before they could remedy what they got wrong. It's just a massive fuck up, really, and this is just further symptomatic of the company we're dealing with here. You know, the head never speaks to the tail at EA, so it seems, and it's just absolute bollocks.
Yeah, I don't know how it's so easily avoidable. I don't understand how they could have just said to them, we spend a lot more now on bronzes and silvers, so the actual volume control needs to be changed, or it isn't a trigger anymore, quite simply. It needs to be a bit more sophisticated. Either way, it's affected a lot of players. I wasn't the only one, and I hope they've all got back online now. And it might be good news for people who actually are a bit dodgy and want to sell coins and stuff. It's going to be easy to get away with it now.
Yeah, it does create potential loopholes and stuff, and we'll just have to see how this goes. But if it happens again, no doubt we will be reporting on it, so stay tuned to that one. But if you have been affected and you'd like us to talk about it, hit us up at FUTStock on Twitter. Let us know what happened to you, whether EA resolved your issue well, how long you were banned for, and of course we'll discuss it in further episodes, because I don't think we've seen the last of this one.
Not at all. And just as one closing statement on this part is that basically you're not going to be treated like a criminal, which is what I thought I was going to ring up, and I thought this is going to be such a waste of time. It's going to just say, oh, it says you've been banned, so sorry, you're banned. You know what I mean? But they weren't. They were completely respectful, and they went for the proper channels, and then they unbanned me. And that's nothing to do with the fact that I've got a YouTube channel or anything like that. They wouldn't know that. It doesn't really matter when you're at this stage.
No, it's very true. So with that, mate, you are off to the City of Manchester Stadium shortly, I believe.
That is actually true. Yes, I am off to see Man City, Barcelona, and probably the dead rubber of the century.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird one, isn't it? But hopefully it's a little bit entertaining for you. But Matt's going to say goodbye a little bit early, folks, because he needs to get to the game in real life. So, Matt, thanks for joining me again. Hope you enjoyed yourself and coming along and all that stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't feel quite right, does it? You saying goodbye. No. Let's never do this again.
No, let's not. And I'd like you to use your patented yet stolen goodbye before I finish off the show proper.
Yes, thank you. It's been wonderful to come along and come and stuff, like you say, and don't have any squad building challenge nightmares.
All right, mate. Enjoy your evening. We'll record next week. Have a good one.
Bye.
Okay, folks. So Matt's going off in real life to enjoy some real football. So we've just got a couple more things I want to talk about before we end the show. First things first is we're getting up to the start of a new month. It's early November now, and Player of the Month beckons. So we've had Sterling and we've had Son so far. And I've been saying for a couple of weeks that I thought Joe Allen was probably going to be Player of the Month just because of his outstanding goal scoring exploits. Last night, he got a couple more assists against Swansea. He's having like the best patch of his career. So as a team, we're going out on a limb and saying that Joe Allen's going to be the player of the month for November. He's got more combined goals and assists than anyone else in the Premier League for the month. That includes Eden Hazard, Sanchez, and Costa. Because he's doing it with a team that isn't superstar laden at Stoke, it's a lower team. So what he achieves in that regard should be held in slightly higher weight. We think it's going to be Joe. So what does that mean for you guys? Well, based on what's happened in previous months, when Son got Player of the Month, you had to make an all-Korean team, you had to make a Spurs team. So we're encouraging you to go out and buy a few Stoke players, maybe some Liverpool and Swansea players as well, and definitely buy a lot of cheap Welsh players. This is for trading opportunities and for completing the squad building challenges as well. There's some of our followers who are convinced Hazard's going to get it because EA and the Premier League want a poster boy on there. And I was explaining to our regular listener and contributor on Twitter, Steve at NY Jester, that for all Eden Hazard's achievements in the Premier League and good form over the years, he's never won Player of the Month. Whereas someone like Peter Odem-Wingy's won it 3 times. So they don't always go for marquee picks. I think they'll be a bit clever about it. There's a lot of goodwill towards Joe Allen after his amazing performances at the Euros. And he just statistically betters everyone in November. So regardless of what your affiliations are to certain teams, go out and invest in Joe Allen. We think he's going to be Player of the Month for November. And we're just going to leave you very quickly with Novelty Player of the Week from last week's Team of the Week. And there's a few good ones in there like Shaqiri and whatnot, but we're going a little bit more hipster. We're going with a silver. And we're going to employ Reto Ziegler, the former Spurs and Sampdoria man, who's been converted over the years from a left-sided full-back and left-sided midfielder. He's now at centre-back. But this card is absolutely unreal. If you just have a look at the stats on here, 92 for shot power, 84 long shots, and really good passing and crossing skills with good free kicks and strength and tackling. Basically, he's going to be like an ideal silver central defensive midfielder. So if you have decent links around him, you can play him at CDM, at 7 chemistry, and he'll work just fine. I've been using him as an impact sub in the weekend league, and I can tell you he does make a big difference because he's quite pacey, reasonably powerful, and has long shots for days. And one of the important things, just so you can grasp how good of a card this is, he has more total in-game stats than Messi. He has more total in-game stats than Neymar, and only just a few in-game stats short of Cristiano Ronaldo's overall total. That's how well-rounded and packed this card is. It's definitely worth your consideration. It's going for about 15k at the moment, so it's really cheap. Impact sub, investment, make a Swiss hybrid, whatever it is you fancy doing, this is a really great card and we think you should go and invest in it. And with that, guys, it's a little bit of a short episode this week because we just wanted to get something out to you because we didn't manage to get our full episode in last week due to the recording being mute for some reason. So we really apologise for that. We're going to be playing the new Call of Duty this weekend, so we'll probably have a new podcast out for you towards the end of next week. So we're still going to be playing a little bit of FIFA and certainly doing investing in squad building challenges, so there'll still be loads to talk about, so don't worry about that. But if there's anything you do fancy us talking about, hit us up at FUTStock on Twitter. I'm Metz, and it's been a pleasure doing another episode for you, and until we speak again, please don't have nightmares. Catch you later, guys, and have a great weekend. Bye bye.